introduce yourselves.
Yeah, hi, I'm Christine Powell.
Anthony Powell.
Yes, and I guess we met in Antarctica.
So yeah, we've been working down there for the last 20 years, cumulatively about 10 years each down there.
Yes, we met down there and we had our wedding ceremony down there, and we're still together, which is a good thing.
Yeah. And what sort of work have you done in Antarctica?
So I originally went as a communications technician / satellite engineer, so primarily just looking after all the electronics, the radio repeaters, the electronics on base, the research equipment, so pretty much anything that wasn't mains voltage that the electrician looked after. Oh, getting bitten by a sandfly.
Oh, whoops.
I generally looked after, so I did that for many years, and looking after the satellite links for the Americans for quite a few years, all the radio repeaters on the mountaintops, so lots of travel around the place.
So you're working with both the Scott Base and McMurdo Base, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I did 3 years at Scott Base, and then after we got married, hurriedly got a green card and carried on working at McMurdo for quite a few years.
Yes. So my first job in Antarctica was mopping floors and washing dishes, but I was happy to do that in order to have the experience of going down there. And then from there I went into brief sojourn into IT, and then I went into supply, which is warehousing and handling a lot of the parts and supplies that people need down on the station. I've also been in logistics, handling cargo for remote field camps that are doing research based from McMurdo, and I've also done finance, handling all the money at McMurdo Station. So yeah, I'm kind of a Jill of all trades.
Taking the money out of the bars and putting it back in the ATM machine.
Yeah.
And so is there a lot of women go down to Antarctica these days? Or?
You know, there was a lot less when I first started, but now it's getting to be up to about 45%. So nearly half of the staff is women, which is pretty amazing. And we do all sorts of jobs too. We, from being plumbers to electricians, and they basically just assume that you can do the job, and they just say
quite
go.
Skilled women working there now.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think when I first started going down there, it was probably only about 20% women, but now it's up to about 45 the last couple of times we've been. So it's been really good.
And in the old days, there was hardly any women, and they said that they have this figure that once there's 10% of the population is women, the men will stop fighting.
Did it work?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, men actually naturally curb their Neanderthal behaviour and
become civilized again.
Yeah.
And Antarctica seems to be one of those places where different countries work together, isn't it? That
Yes.
normally work together, isn't it?
Oh
Yep.
yeah, I think science really brings a lot of countries together where they might be divided politically. They will come together to do science, and Antarctica is one of the perfect places for that, where everyone is working together for the future and betterment of mankind, humankind. Hopefully, at least that's the end goal. Yeah.
And I guess part of it is that just to survive down there, you got to work together, don't you?
That's part of it.
Especially over the winter. You spent much time there over the winter.
Yeah. I've done 10 winters. Christine's done 9 winters, and it's it's a whole different ball game when you're stuck there with no way out, and just the people that you're there with, and having to rely on them, and they rely on you. So it's just learning to trust, and
between the summer and the winter, because the summer you've got 24 hours of sun, and the winter it's 24 hours of no sun, isn't it?
So summertime we've got at least at that latitude we've got 4 months of continuous sunshine, and then a couple of months with the sun rising and setting, and 4 months of continuous darkness. So it's like 98% of the science happens over the summer. It gets really busy, just people running around, and then over the winter it's just basically down to your skeleton crew and catching up with all the maintenance.
But I guess the winter must be good for stargazing. Is it studying?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant for stargazing.
Yeah. The way I like to describe it is when you look at the stars anywhere, in New Zealand or even in the States, there's a layer of particulate matter in the atmosphere, and when you view the stars in Antarctica, it's almost like the veil has been removed, and you're actually seeing them for the first time, the way they they really look. Yeah.
So New Zealand's the second best place for stargazing.
Oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Pretty good in New Zealand, but you know, you got
Antarctica's another level.
yeah, because you know, while you've got pretty good in terms of light pollution and minimal, you know, fairly minimal in most places once you get out of the cities in New Zealand. Antarctica, you don't have to deal with the light pollution away from the bases, but you've also got no pollens or dust in the air. It's all volcanic rock and ice, so there's no dust there, there's no pollen there, there's no smog to deal with, and then just the extremely low humidity, so you're not looking through that moisture in the atmosphere either.
Right.
And I think you talked about, or someone talked about Antarctica being a Mars-like sort of landscape, isn't it?
Yeah, well, especially the dry valleys, which is just across the bay from Scott Base and McMurdo Station, and it's the place on Earth that they say is most like Mars in terms of temperature and just the geology, and so there's, you know, all sorts of microbial life living in the slightly moist areas there, so they're hoping they can find similar things on Mars.
And it looks like Mars. It doesn't have a lot of snow there because, as being the dry valleys, it very rarely snows in the valleys, and the whole landscape is very Mars-like. So we
got that South Pole on Mars now, where they reckon there's that that underground lake underneath that big layer of ice, isn't there? So that, I guess that must be pretty similar to the South Pole on Earth too, is it?
Yeah, well, South Pole, you got the polar ice cap, which is, you know, a few k's thick of freshwater ice, but then there's the subglacial lakes there that they've formed. So yeah, that's,
and they've been closed off from any, you know, they haven't been accessed, or so they're closed off. So everything that's in those lakes,
the light went out.
Oh yeah.
Still going.
Oh yeah. Everything that's in those lakes hasn't been affected. What am I trying to say? Just
unique
ecosystems that haven't
potentially similar to Mars. Isn't it?
Exactly, and they have actually discovered some new organisms in those lakes.
So that gives hope, I guess, for scientists looking at Mars, that there could be life.
Yeah,
sure.
It's a possibility.
Mars,
right.
Same sort of environment.
It's very exciting.
And you've also done a lot of filming and photography, and you got the film Antarctica.
Yep, Antarctica, a year on ice. So it was pretty much about 10 years in the making of just slowly chipping it away at it. Took me probably 6 or 7 years of just figuring out how to get reliable systems for filming in the more extreme cold of the winter, and shooting a lot of time lapse, and then once I had that in place, well, once I felt like I had the year's worth of coverage there, then I concentrated on the people story to go along with the visuals.
Oh, that's good. That's about